We are on site live and in effect. And of course, we're at 264 Thompson Boulevard. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Am I right?
I can see it right now.
I just want to wrap it up and take it home and just cuddle it.
Well, if it goes missing, I know where to look.
Hey, what's up, my friends? Paul Germany's here with, of course, Scott Innocente with AW4U, the real estate group. And we are back with another episode of WESPN. First of all, I appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting on it. Whenever you do this type of stuff, you never know if anybody actually watches it, but they're enjoying it. And any feedback, positive, negative, we don't mind one bit. And we're really grateful for it, and really appreciate it.
DMs are flooded.
The DMs are always flooded. DMs are always flooded. As promised, par for the course here. We got a fantastic sponsor, Windsor Wainscot. Liam and his team over there are just absolutely so talented at what they do in the custom woodworking, wall accent field, but that's not all that they do. They specialize in all interior home renovations, including contracting services. Main areas of expertise, of course, are wainscoting. So Liam started with, I think, strictly wainscoting, doing those amazing accent walls and all of that stuff. But now got into trim work, flooring, painting, home remodeling, basement finishing, and, of course, fireplaces. And, I've had the liberty and the privilege of being a client of his, and he's been a client of mine, actually. So I can speak to his character and his quality of work. If you go check out his Instagram, Windsor Wainscot is absolutely stunning. I wouldn't even know where to start when doing that type of work. Have you ever had that work done in your
for sure.
place?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of it right now at our new construction home. But
fantastic.
Don't underestimate the impact of wainscoting, number one, and other wood type walls. We're doing a couple in this new property, like our office as well. So pretty exciting, and the impact is significant. Yeah. You walk through a house that's wainscoted versus one that's not, and you notice immediately. So it's a nice little touch and not overly expensive for the return that you get, in my opinion.
I agree, and again, it's a talent, it's a craft, and the work speaks for itself. I mean,
I'm not going to be wainscoting my own house. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, that would decrease the value of that.
Is that Tony Scotting's brother? Wayne Scotting, the Scotting family.
My brother Wayne.
Yeah, that's right. Barb's brother. So Windsor Wainscot. Check him out on Instagram. Give Liam a call. He's very, very responsive. His whole crew is so talented at what they do, and you won't be disappointed. Another absolutely stunner of a human that's decided to sponsor our show. Now, if you guys want to sponsor the show yourself, and we can show you some love at the start of the show, simply just reply or send us an email, and we would love to hype you up. Speaking of hyping things up.
Now, it might look like this is a green screen behind us.
It's not.
But it's not. We're on site.
We are on site live and in effect. And, of course, we're at 264 Thompson Boulevard. And first things first, one of our newest listings, and it's an absolute stunner. If you haven't seen it online yet, we're dropping the video on it today being Wednesday. Check out the video. It explains the area. It explains the house. This one here is absolutely dialed in. Would you agree? We're sitting in the kitchen, and it is a vibe.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the photos, obviously, but my first time in the property, and whoever did the design work here is just next level. You can tell they have a talent and an art, and it's stunning at every turn. No room left untouched. So yeah, I would
agree.
Brilliant.
And the thing about this one is it just smashes together old world charm with the modern updates that you would expect. A couple favorite parts about my place here on Thompson is never had a main floor powder room. So what she did was she grabbed a closet from the front hallway and transitioned it into a main floor powder room. And it is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Am I right?
I can see it right now. No, it really is. And if you're having friends over, you're having drinks and playing some games or whatever the case is, who wants to walk upstairs, use the bathroom or whatever the case is, or downstairs. So it's such an underrated touch.
I agree, and again, the kitchen sink in that powder room, I just want to wrap it up and take it home and just cuddle it.
Well, if it goes missing, I know where to look.
It is the cutest thing ever. Am I right? Am I right? Also, favorite spots about this house. additional living space in the finished basement, another full washroom in the finished basement, and a custom laundry room.
How about the location, Paul?
Let's talk about that. 200 block of Thompson. Again, any 200 block in Old Riverside is special in its own right. This one here on Thompson, the water's half a block away, restaurant's half a block away, and still have that family feel and a real sense of neighborhood here, right? Which is
becoming more and more rare.
It's becoming more and more rare in
these
these
new subdivisions, and
that's why I think these neighborhoods like Old Riverside, Old Walkerville are so desired because it has that neighborhood feel. It has a great walkability score, like a St. Clair Beach and again Walkerville, Riverside, and I think that's what people strive for, right?
These areas can't be recreated. Okay, you can't get half a block away from the water anymore, so you can't recreate it. That means it's going to hold its value better and or increase in value more than other similar properties. So
yeah.
Location.
Absolutely. Again, we were absolutely honored and excited to bring 264 Thompson Boulevard to market. If you want to check this listing out for yourself, you know the drill. Just reach out, and we would be more.
And you might want to do it before the market starts to pick up a little bit, which we're starting to see shades of.
This is true.
We're starting to see shades of. We're going to dive into some stats here. I know, Paul, you got them dialed in here. Why don't you hit us with kind of what's happened from January relative to December and January of last year?
Love it. So our stats came out on late last week. Okay, so these are our monthly stats that are released by the board. The stats that we go over here are Windsor Essex County related. We also have some active listing numbers for you, just to kind of gauge the temperature of the market out there. Those active listing numbers will be between Tecumseh and LaSalle and everything in between, which we've been tracking for quite a long time now. Mm-hmm. So residential sales in January 2024, we had 276 residential sales compared to December at 226 and November at 352. Now, what I wanted to mirror was I wanted November and January to kind of mirror each other. The sales are down quite a bit in January. I felt January was a really, really slow start to the market. Would you agree?
Abnormally slow. I think it had a lot to do with that massive cold front that we had. Yeah. I didn't want to leave my house, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It was freezing, it was snowing, and it was literally dangerous out there. I think we had some cold weather advisories a couple times as well. So that may have had an impact. Also, like just uncertainty, right? Are they going to? The rate announcement didn't come until late January. Maybe people were on edge waiting to hear about that as well. So definitely an abnormally slow. But we usually see end of January into February really is where it starts to set the tone for the rest of the year, and I think that's what we kind of got a glimpse of over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, we're feeling it right now. Again, the news cycle has changed out there, but all the houses that we're showing and all of that, we're getting the notices on the offers, and we're talking 17, 18 offers on some properties.
23 on one last night.
Yep.
Not our listing, but one that some of our colleagues were involved with. So 23 offers, and it did sell. Right, it's not selling as crazy high as it was before, but this one did sell over our estimated market value, in my opinion. Yeah. Not by as much as it would have back in the day, but still over market value. So we might start to see that price taking up, which is reflected in our average sale price, even in January, was up 3.38%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's about $25,000 to an average sale price of $534. So a couple percentage points, one rate cut, even the foreshadowing of a rate cut, and you can see how quickly prices can jump here, guys. We saw it in the past. We're not trying to create FOMO here, but we are trying to educate people to make decisions. I was at an RBC economic event yesterday, and the advisor there, he's one of the economists for RBC, was saying that, hey, the smart money's getting in now. They're not waiting for the announcement. Okay, they're not waiting for the first rate cut, which may not be for another 4, 5, 6, 7 months.
Yep.
You're doing it before the rate cut comes. That's what I would recommend now. Now, can I guarantee a rate cut's coming? Of course not. But I will say like 90% of everybody is saying that it's happening. I don't think they can raise rates anymore, so I think it's inevitable. We had a tick up in average sale price. I think sales as well, if I'm not mistaken, the number of sales.
So the number of sales units sold was 276. Okay, compared to, they're comparing it to December, but we like to throw that out the window. But like I said, they're actually down from November, but they do mirror last January. Now, what I was monitoring and was really excited to see was the average sale price. So although the units were down, the average sale price was actually up from 514 in December to 534 in January. But like I said, I want November and January. I want to see how those mirror each other. November 529, January 534. And like you said, the market can go on an uptick really, really quick. And it's not that long ago that where we have to remember this, because in January 2023, the average sale price was 516, February 532, March 568, April 576, May 602,000. So we ran from 516 to 602 in May. Guys, I put my crystal ball away a long time ago. I'm just here to offer you advice based off of experiences and situations in market that we know. It dropped from 602 until October to back down to 530. And the reason it did is because the interest rates went up. Okay. Every single gain that we had there, we absolutely lost. Now, I'm no award-winning scientist, but
you don't say.
If we come back here in February, the market has gone up a little bit, and we're trending that way, and we're going to run it all the way till May. Spring market's right now, guys. Spring market is right now, and the interest rates, instead of going up, go down or stay. We're not going to have those losses. Right?
Exactly.
We're not going to have those losses. So that's the interesting part for me. So we need to report these market stats and check our work based off of these episodes, because if they keep going up on the average sale price, well, we've read this book before.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, you're not only not an award-winning scientist, you're not a scientist, period. Just wanted to clarify that.
This is true.
Now, what's interesting here, folks, is that I think there's because there are so few sales over the past couple months, I think people have this perception that the buyers aren't out there. But in my experience, I've been working with buyers over this period of time. And guess what, folks? There's nothing to buy, right? So we have criteria. They have a budget. It's a healthy budget. But there's only one property every week or two that even remotely fits our criteria. And what's interesting is when prices come down, unless you need to sell, why are you going to sell, right? If my neighbor sold for $750 a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever the case is, and now I'm looking at a sale price of $600, I might just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to wait for the market to turn. It's trending in the wrong direction. Why would I force myself to sell now? And that's why we're seeing so few listings, essentially. So now that the market starts to strengthen, people start to get the idea of, hey, you know what? Maybe now's a good time to sell. I heard my neighbor got 23 offers on their property, and we might see more listings, more activity. So kind of a bit of a paradox there.
Yeah, I mean, look, and these are the listings that we've been tracking. So again, we're just using LaSalle, Tecumseh, everything in between. Just November 9th, there was 729 active listings. Okay, that dropped down to 606 on December 11th. That dropped down to 530 active listings on December 12th. That dropped down, Happy New Year, to 415 on January 2nd, to 436 on January 15th, to 427 active listings on January 24th. And then that brings us to February 6th. It's actually dropping more to 414 active listings. Your situation's your situation, but if you're in a situation right now where you can sell and it's not really determined on the purchase here locally, or that's already been secured, or you want to make sure that you're getting on the market when there's less competition for you, now's a fantastic time to list. That's what I
because there's just not a lot of listings.
It's not. The competition's low and the buyers are serious. My God, are the buyers
if you're out there
serious.
Right now? You're pretty serious. So, very good way of putting it. And same goes for investment properties as well. Like I'm not seeing any multifamily listed at all. That's of any sort of quality. And the reason's the same thing, right? Why would an investor sell, or if you're cash flow positive or break even? Why am I going to sell in a down market with high rates? Everybody knows that prices go up and investors come back flocking when rates are low or on the decline. So we're not seeing any multifamily listed. I expect that to change.
Are the investors back?
I think they're starting to
Getting some calls.
get interested in coming back. They were gone. I'll tell you what. They were gone for good reason because properties didn't make sense. The rates went up too quickly. Cash flow was gone. You were basically buying an investment property and losing money every month, which is never a good strategy. So people just weren't making moves. Guess what? The smart money gets in before the coast is clear, right? Once it's clear, you're too late. So we're not necessarily we don't know when it's going to be clear, but if it does clarify over this year, which we all anticipate it will, then if you wait for that time.
It's another reason our market was down too, right? We lost two of our biggest buyer pools. We lost the Toronto buyer, okay, and we lost the investors. Those are massive buyer pools that exited from our market. Of course, the market's gonna go down. It went down for good reason. I mean, money was just way too expensive. But the question is, are the investors back? A lot of the phone calls that I'm getting, I'm gonna say they're interested. They're definitely on their way.
Yep, I was out with a client a couple days ago from out of town. Guess what? He wasn't calling 6 months ago. And, we're showing him around town, and there's still very limited inventory. There's not really what I consider to be great opportunities. So we start thinking outside the box, start to get into some of those other ideas, buying something and building 3 units on it, adding 2 additional dwelling units. We've got the upzoning. And touching on that, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, Windsor did reject the upzoning to 4 units. Windsor refused to upzone to 4 units, and the federal government therefore rejected their funding application. Yeah. A little bit surprised that the city of Windsor didn't kind of cave in there with up to $70 million dangling in front of them.
Again, I'm no scientist. 70 mil.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of money. Yeah. And so they didn't acquiesce. The city did not acquiesce. They didn't want to upzone to 4 lots, so the Fed said, you know what, you're not getting the funding. So we still have the ability to build up to 3 units on any single-family lot or any lot in the city as long as you have the lot coverage, et cetera, which I think is still a fantastic investment opportunity. Yep. There's so many ways you can win in Windsor right now. You've got anywhere near the battery plant, like try building some rental units around there, for instance, right? Yeah. Anywhere within a 10-minute drive. And then we've got a whole other decade of projects coming up off of 42 there with the mega hospital. It's a decade of project. That whole area is going to transform.
Any updates on that? Do we know what's going on?
I believe it's 2020. Like, I think they're in the planning phase right now. I believe it's 2025 shovels in the ground, and it's a decade-long project. Like that, This thing is massive. Yeah. So the catalysts are here, right? I don't like investing in whether it's stocks or real estate. If there's no catalyst, I'm not going to some small town where the jobs aren't coming, nobody's building battery plants, nobody's building mega hospitals. I'm going where I've got news that something's happening that's going to change the dynamic. We've got like 5 of them, in my opinion, because we're the cheapest city in Ontario. Therefore, we've got just people coming down here because of affordability. Yep. Border city. A lot of people work in Detroit, live in Windsor. Mega hospital and the battery plant, Amazon fulfillment center. And there's a bunch of stuff, guys, in the pipeline that we don't even know about, all related to the battery plant and the supply chain for EVs. Yep. Okay, this is the future. The federal government, whether you agree with it or not, the federal government is making this happen.
I think the hardest thing for investors or anybody buying real estate is to have a long-term outlook over it. But what a decade does in real estate is
incredible. Wealth can be built in a decade.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Takes a lot of maturity as an investor to realize that it is time in the market. But a decade in real estate, and I say this to all my clients, it's in the long term, it is undefeated.
It's not get rich quick. It's get rich for sure. And I find most people, especially beginner investors, they don't have the ability to think past 6 or 12 months, in my opinion. They can't actually project out 5 to 10 years. Now, I don't ever recommend buying something based solely on projection. It has to work at today's prices. It has to be today's market value. It has to be cash flow positive.
Well said.
But when you think 10 years and you just take a baseline projection of 2% appreciation, 2.5%, 3%, whatever the inflation rate is, compound that over 10 years, and you're talking like big money. This is how people get wealthy. It is not timing the market, time in the market. Hate these cliches, but they're just so true. They are. That's why they're just.
I think what we'll do for next episode, I want to grab some of the major cities in Canada, and Windsor included. I think we're starting to get put on that list a little bit more often.
I think so too.
And just see the average sale price over the past 10 years. I know Toronto has literally doubled in the past 10 years, and we're not talking off of 150 grand. We're talking, I think the average sell price there is about 1.3 or 1.2. I could be totally mistaken again.
No,
it's not a scientist. But, I think that'd be a great visual. I'm a visual learner, so when I see these graphs, I'm like, wow, this makes sense. But real estate in the long term is absolutely 100% undefeated. Speaking of the Banwell battery plant, we've got a bunch of condos listed for lease in there, and they are calling. They are calling. We're leasing probably 1 or 2 a week at this rate, and they're enjoying the product too. So,
it's a fantastic location. It's literally hop, skip, and a jump to the battery plant, right? So if you're working there for a couple of years, or even long term, right? You're an engineer that's moving to Windsor, or you're just got a job at the battery plant. You're local.
Yep.
Where would you rather be, right? So I know, people were having a hard time renting them and anything else in November, December, middle of the winter. People aren't really moving to Windsor, making the transition, or whatever the case is. So it's kind of a dead zone. But
it's unbelievable how slow the leasing market is in November and especially December. But yeah, January was pretty solid.
I don't think people know this. The vacancy rate in Canada is like 1%.
Yeah,
okay? It's 1% vacancy.
I remember when it was trending probably about 7, and then that even that you could feel such a difference.
Yeah.
In that market, you wouldn't want to invest because there would be no one to rent it.
Too much.
We still run into these listings that still have those tenants in there. That should be about $18.50 a month, and they're paying $9.50 all in. Makes for a difficult sale. I'll tell you that much.
And big time. And that's another thing with real estate as well, is you capture inflation through real estate. Because as the prices are going up over 10 years, so are the rents, right?
Yeah.
And in Ontario, you're capped at rent, but when a tenant leaves and you get a new one, or if you buy a new product, you're not beholden to the rent control. I don't think a lot of people know this. If it's built after 2018, Doug Ford snuck a little clause in there that you can raise rent to whatever you want, right? Or whatever market rent is.
With notice, you can raise rent to the current market value, I think 1 time per year. So I mean, that's the good thing about buying new product as well, is that you're not tied to the to the laws that
typically 2%. Inflation was running at 7%. They allowed us 2% and absolutely buried a lot of investors. Which, has its own consequences when you do that, because investors are a valuable portion of the economy. Yeah. A lot of people do need rental properties they can't afford or don't want to buy a home. And when you bury the investor, well, you actually kind of exasperate the housing crisis, in my opinion. So it's a catch-22 in a lot of ways. But, so rental market's starting to pick up. Investors are starting to creep back into the market slowly. We're about to see probably some more listings, some more opportunities on the investment side.
It's positive out there.
It does. It wasn't feeling that way
out there. Again, we've got our finger on the pulse here, especially with knowing how many offers are going on properties. The buyers are out of hibernation, and they have a lot of confidence right now, right? They don't feel like they're going to buy something and it's going to get raised. They're used to what they're or realize what their new payment will be, and they're comfortable with that, and it could at the end of the year get even better for them.
And keep in mind, folks, this is with simply a continued pause and the idea of a rate cut. Yeah. Imagine what happens if and when that first rate cut actually comes. I don't want to speculate, but I know we're short housing. That's the problem, right? If we were in an opposite situation where we had more supply than demand, I wouldn't think the rate cut was going to be a big deal, but I think it's going to be a very big deal.
Albeit 3 weeks late, this feels like last year to me right now.
Okay. You know what? That's a good point. And you're right, 3 weeks late, but it's getting the same vibes that we felt. And we saw the result. It was $10,000, $20,000 a month into the end of summer. And then we got additional rate hikes, and it just quenched the market completely, combined with seasonality. And that was the end of that. So, yeah, great episode. We'll keep on bringing you guys the most updated news.
Not yet. First of all, shout out to Windsor Wainscot. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode, guys. It means the world to us to be able to hype up these businesses and show them some love. That's just what we do, and we love it. But Super Bowl, who you got?
I've got the Chiefs. You can't bet against Mahomes. You just can't.
I like that. Scott nailed his 49ers pick. to my absolute ripped my heart out that game. I'm still not over it, but I'm gonna go with the Chiefs too.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs too, and everybody have a great Super Bowl. And thank you for watching this episode. Really appreciate it. See ya.